I recently found on archive.org a letter between Gerard Mercator and John Dee, Queen Elizabeth's like sorcerer, warlocky kind of guy, from 1577 about this map in the land above the north. And so I wanted to read it here because it's absolutely amazing, and I want people to listen to it, and it's shed some interesting light on this map and some different ideas, because a couple videos I have planned in the future are going to all deal with like the North and South Pole, everything from Admiral Byrd to this and Mount Meru and way beyond, because I really think that there's something up there. And at the beginning of one of these letters, it says that the royal British royalty was owner and in full control of the lands to the north. So if that was true since King Arthur's time, then there's no telling what they would hide from us, because they kind of control it all from around there. So there's some interesting art in this. I'm going to share some old maps, I'm going to share some Mercator maps, and I'm just going to read the book. And I recommend it's like 15 pages. The part I'm going to read is about 4. And I definitely recommend you checking it out, looking at these pages, reading all the words. It is some great insight into this area, and the map is awesome. So here we go. Enjoy. And this letter must have been in some rough condition from April 20th, 1577. And so some of the lines are missing at certain times, and there's ... So bear with me, but enjoy. He begins, "To the most famous Dr. John Dee, his master and much esteemed patron, at Mortlake on the Thames, near London, with 3 enclosures." So it says a line's missing, and then it says "to send, fearing it would not reach you quickly enough if transmission were delayed. I have written down everything you have about the northern regions, and to these ... etc. Jacobus Canoyen of Herzogenbosch traveled the world like Mandeville, but described what he saw with better judgment. He wrote in the Belgic language. The ideas about the northern regions, which some time ago I extracted from him, follow word for word, save where for the sake of brevity or speed I have translated into Latin, when if not always his words I have retained his meaning. In North Norway, which is called Dusky Norway, there are 3 months of darkness during which there is no sunlight but a perpetual twilight. This North Norway lies over against the country called the Province of Darkness, or Obscure Province, in Latin, Provincia Tenebrosa. Concerning it, however, there is nothing written in Marco Polo, and this Province of Darkness is the most western bound of the Grand Cham's land, which means Tartary, I believe. And between this province and Dusky Norway, there is only 12 miles of sea. From North Norway, you cannot reach the indrawing sea, which lies beyond Great Grockland, or Greenland maybe, but Grockland it looks like, for it lies still further northward. This North Norway stretches as far as the mountain range, which encompasses the North Pole, and borders on this mountain range for about 17 miles by land. The rest is all sea. So they tell us there's just ice up there, not a mountain range. And this is the same mountain range which comes close, they're not sure what the word is, within about 15 French miles, and then stands further off towards the east. And near here, towards the north, those little people live, of whom there is also mention in the Gestae Arturi, and their borders on it, besides a beautiful open land. And this land lies between the province of Darkness and the province of Burgi. But between each of these provinces and these lands lies an indrawing sea. And this province, parentheses, the open land, has a mountain border of over 72 French miles by land. These facts are in more about the geography of the north are to be found in the beginning of the Gestae Arturi, etc. Gotta check that book. The islands adjacent to the North Pole were formerly called Scilai, perhaps Thule, and now Septentrionales. Among them is North Norway, and there are many small rivers, some 2, some 1, some 3 kennings wide, more or less, and they are called indrawing seas. Because the current always flows northward so strongly that no wind can make a ship sail back against it, and here it is all ice from October to March. And in these latitudes the mountains reach up to the clouds, and are almost all rock bare of vegetation, and it is almost always misty and dull weather. It is well known that beyond 70 or 78 degrees of latitude there is no human habitation. Moreover, the 78th parallel goes in a circle round the Arctic Pole, in the form of a high mountain range. Lacuna, they're not sure, part of the army of King Arthur which conquered the northern islands and made them subject to him. And we read that nearly 4,000 persons entered the indrawing seas who never returned. But in A.D. 1364, 8 of these people came to the king's court in Norway. Among them were 2 priests, one of them whom had an astrolabe, who was descended in the 5th generation from Abruxalensis. One, I say, the 8 were sprung from, parentheses, those who had penetrated the northern regions in the first ships. That great army of Arthur's had lain all the winter of 530 A.D. in the northern islands of Scotland, and on May 3rd a part of it crossed over into Iceland. Then 4 ships of the aforesaid land had come out of the north, and warned Arthur of the indrawing seas, so that Arthur did not proceed further, but peopled all the islands between Scotland and Iceland, and also peopled Greenland. So it seems the indrawing sea only begins beyond Greenland. In this Greenland, or Grockland, still can't really tell, or Groland, he found people 23 feet tall, that is to say, of the feet with which land is measured. When those 4 ships returned, there were sailors who asserted that they knew where the magnetic lands were. Jeez. Lacuna. Arthur afterwards put on board a fleet of 12 ships, about 1,800 men and about 400 women. They sailed northwards on May 3rd in the year following that in which the former ships had departed. And of these 12 ships, 5 were driven on the rocks in a storm, but the rest of them made their way between the high rocks on June 18th, which was 44 days after they had set out. More precisely, perhaps some of them made their way. The priest who had the astrolabe related to the king of Norway that in A.D. 1360 there had come to these northern islands as English Minorite from Oxford, who was a good astronomer, etc. Leaving the rest of the party who had come to the islands, he journeyed further through the whole of the north, etc., and put into writing all the wonders of those islands, and gave the King of England this book, which he called in Latin Inventio Fortunatae, which book began at the last climate, that is to say latitude 54, continuing to the pole. This monk said that the mountain range goes round the north like a wall, save that in 19 places the indrawing channels flow through it, whereof the widest is not above 12 French miles across, the narrowest 3/4 of a mile, and through the narrowest no ship would be able to go, because of the strong rush of the water. The mountain range is surrounded by sea, except in North Norway, when the Norwegian mountain range reaches it for a width of about 17 miles. And right under the North Star, opposite Norway, there lies a fair level land which is uninhabited. There many beautiful ... In the east there stretches out an arm of land which is nearly all wooded, and narrows continually the farther north, parentheses, the more, so that it is not more than 1 mile wide where it meets the mountain range. Otherwise no land touches the circumference of mountains anywhere, but in many places the sea is so narrow that one can see the far side. And the mountain range covers a breadth of 8 miles, and in the whole circle, parentheses, said the Minorite, there is no habitation except on the east side, where in that narrow land, isthmus, already mentioned, there were 23 people not above 4 feet tall, whereof 16 were women. This monk said that in 2 other places further inland he found a great piece of ship's planking and other balks which had been used in big ships, besides many trunks of trees which at some earlier date had been hewn down, so that he could say with certainty that there had formerly been habitation there, but the people had now gone, and that the country where they, the pygmies I believe he means, lived was more than 6 degrees broad, that is to say 20 days' journey, and one could cover the distance on foot, and it was 10 degrees long, that is 33 days' journey. Also there lay there, said he, an indrawing sea of 5 channels, gathered together, which came through the mountain range out of the 19 channels mentioned. And this indrawing sea is 12 French miles wide, and measures across about 4 days' journey. And at the west of the aforesaid country is another indrawing sea, into which 3 more channels go out of the aforesaid 19. And that channel which they, the ships I believe are meant, had entered also flowed therein. And all these channels which turn tortuously when they come out of the mountains drive ships immediately ashore. But whatever channels flowed straight into the innermost seas, into which the 19 channels gather. In these ships must of necessity be carried currentwise inwards and become lost. Also, said this Minorite, these innermost seas number 4, and the one which lies on the west side was quite 34 French miles broad, and on the other side of the sea was the best and healthiest land in all the north. Also, he said that the sea which lay on the east side could never be frozen because so many channels united there, and it was narrow besides, so that the current was very strong, but that the one which ran on the west side used to freeze almost every year and remained frozen sometimes for 3 months, and in that land he had seen no signs of habitation. But in a country which lay to the north opposite it, he had recognized planks of ships and tree trunks. All these 4 countries are high open lands, plateaus, except some mountains 4 fathom high. There are many trees of Brazil wood. When this priest with the astrolabe, ... and then it misses something, I guess. In the midst of the 4 countries is a whirlpool, into which there empty these 4 indrawing seas, which divide the north, and the water rushes round and descends into the earth, just as if one were pouring it through a filter funnel. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole, that is to say 8 degrees altogether, except that right under the pole there lies a bare rock in the midst of the sea. Its circumference is almost 33 French miles, and it is all of magnetic stone, and is as high as the clouds, parentheses. So the priest said, who had received the astrolabe from this Minorite in exchange for a testament. And the Minorite himself had heard that one can see all round it from the sea, and it is black and glistening, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and nothing grows thereon, for there is not so much as a handful of soil on it. That was the writing and words of the Minorite, who has since journeyed to and fro 5 times for the King of England on business. They are to be found in a book called Inventio Fortunae, of which the Minorite himself was author. The foresaid priest said also to the King of Norway that in the country where he dwelt, not 6 times a year did it rain, and even that was drizzle, lasting not more than 6 or 7 hours. ... Lacuna. The wind never blows hard enough to drive a corn mill. Furthermore, the air there is always cool, and the other 7 that were with him testified that they had also heard such things, as he related, said by their elders, but had never seen them. This is word for word everything that I copied out of this author, Knoyen, years ago. Farewell, most learned man. With my most affectionate esteem, 1577, Gerard MERCATOR. So I believe we all have our work cut out for us in trying to locate some of those books and seeing what was said about there. But just visually, some of those ideas are absolutely amazing. You could definitely not put it past a superpower of our world to completely hide this from us. No one can go there without easy access. In order to get there, you really have to have a plane, and they could blow up anything that comes past a certain line with ease. So because these ships seem impossible, I guess with a really extreme motor, you could probably definitely do it now, motorboat, but it would be tough to get through, again, all their military everywhere. They are definitely hiding something from us, and there's no telling. There could be so much out there. The way they describe the land beyond, like past the magnetic pole, magnetic stone, which is absolutely phenomenal to have them talk about, and beyond that is a clear area where vegetation, the best land in all the north. Like, that must be unbelievable. The trees are probably huge. I can imagine the animals that roam around there, the civilization that must have been there. There are definitely, I wonder if if you get beyond a certain point, if there's another sun that kind of circles around this whatever we're on, this giant alien petri dish, this massive globe, this massive thing. But I believe the flat part is a lot more extended than we think. In this area, we could be just receiving maps from this dominion. There could be maps all over the place that, like in the other realms, where they just know if this one is like the one to like stay away from. This is like the small little one that they probably go into and investigate from time to time, and just go back, and no one has a clue. And this is very interesting too, the pattern that is occurring there in the sun, almost like, as well as the ISS and everything, all the amazing things that these map makers discovered back in the day and knew about way before us, and the way they explored must have been ridiculous. There's no telling. A king, like they say, King Arthur could have just gone, any king with a ton of power could have just sent ships anywhere, and definitely took advantage of that power. And there's so much we need to discover, because Mercator and them knew so much, but there's still a lot that nobody knows. And one day we have to just travel up there. We just absolutely have to, with our own eyes, not trusting some organization, some corrupt group of people. We have to really see it with our own eyes and film it. And let's find this magnetic stone. let's discover all the area around it, some new vegetation, some new health, flowers, plants, mushrooms. I'm definitely going to dive more into a lot of this area, as I have a book called Hollow Earth that I have had for so long that I can't find now, but I remember certain things where it talked about some of the color of the aurora borealis could be relating towards mushrooms, and some of the different colors in the ocean could be relating towards release from spores of mushrooms when different things cycle around. And the fact that all this would begin with a whirlpool, that it makes sense that our system here would have some kind of swirling thing pretty much near its center, below the North Star. Like then what does that mean the North Star is? Like, there's so much that this incorporates that's just absolutely ridiculous, and it seems like they're hiding it. 2001 Kubrick, the monolith. It's almost like the discovery, like our discovery of that is what is necessary for us to progress as a species. And we need to see that we can't be held down, or just what is beyond the area that they've been hiding from us, as they're definitely hiding it. There's no doubt about it. And something beautiful is up there, and we should be able to see it. Why not? As citizens of Earth, we deserve to know what this world is and what this means. When like, why are they hiding it from us? What is there? Is there something that they really don't want us to know? Because this realization of more land throws everything we know of into a fire, basically, and eviscerates it. There is so much we have been guided towards thinking wrongly, and if we knew what was up there and what really made this thing go around, we could start gearing science towards real stuff and make these ancient discoveries that some civilization knew about. Because we really need to figure out what we are on. What is our system? What is this? How is it such an absolute miracle? Our bodies, every single piece of it, is an absolute miracle. So how far does it go? What's beyond there? Who are our creators? Who are these ancient architects? Because there's no way we could have eradicated them. I really don't feel that that's possible. They must be somewhere just watching or just having a good time, whatever, living in harmony and in perfection, while we're over here doing whatever we're doing under control of people that shouldn't be in control of us. We need to take everything back, take Earth back. Bless you all. There's going to be more on this. Stay tuned.